Hello, my name is Bellamy, and I'm the author of Raising Happy Hearts and Little Eyes That See the Glory. And I normally talk about things to do with, family and children and things like that. But today I'm talking about something a little different, and it's something that affects most of us because, well, all of us eat, but not all of us have experienced issues when it comes to eating. But I wanted to do this to possibly help somebody else and talk about the revelation that the Lord's given me surrounding food and eating and that spirit of gluttony. And so I'm just going to dive right into it. And, it might be a little bit, piecemeal, if that's the word. So it might not flow properly, but I've prayed before I started this video, and I believe that Lord's just going to help me to get out the information that needs to get out. So I've been, weight and food has basically been an issue for me my whole life. It's never been to a place where it wasn't an issue. It was always something on my mind, something I always dealt with, something that I always tried to come up with a solution for, because I would always find myself overeating, eating when I wasn't hungry, and eating a lot of sugary things. And so even when I tried to do the right thing, and I think, I found, a good way to, watch what I'm eating. Say I just, put myself on, I'm only eating 2 meals, or I'm only eating 1 meal, and doing the intermittent fasting. I just found I wasn't able to stick to it. And I just constantly felt defeated, and I would constantly cry out to the Lord, Lord, what is wrong with me? Please help. What's the answer? And so fast forward to just recently, probably a couple of months ago now, I was talking with my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she's 17, she's almost 18, and she's prophetic. And she said to me one day, sugar is your enemy. The Lord is saying that sugar is your enemy. And I've never, ever had that thought cross my mind. Never. I never thought that sugar was an issue. I always thought, calories, because all you hear is calories in, calories out, and a calorie is a calorie, right? And so when she said that, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, there's the things that are obviously sugary, the things that actually have sugar in them, or a type of sugar. But then there's those highly refined carbs, such as, flour and cereals and, things like breads and pastas, that basically as soon as you consume them, they go into the body like sugar. And so I was thinking, do I need to cut out carbs? And I loved carbs, and I really loved sugar. And it was a hard word for me. But because I knew that it was the Lord, I started to look into it and started to try to cut out some sugar and do more research about it. And so I just wanted to just show you, the things, and the little steps and stages and things that the Lord showed me that led to today. And so after I got that word that sugar is my enemy, there's one other thing that I have been dealing with, is that my testosterone, and I think a lot of women deal with the same thing, probably different hormones are off, but for me, my testosterone was really low, which led to, a low libido, and my hair, it used to, be a lot longer, and it just stopped growing. And I found out that, testosterone has a lot to do with that. And so I was reading something online, and, I'm 40 now, and so something about youth or anti-aging or something caught my attention, a post, and I was reading it. And this one lady was saying that, creams don't work, they're just topical, blah, blah, blah. And so I was reading in the comments, and this one lady, she said she was an OBGYN, and she said that she noticed that all of her clients, patients came in that were the youngest, the ones that looked the youngest, that were young, not only in the way that they looked, but how their body performed, were the ones on HRT. And I'm like, HRT, what is that? And so I looked it up, and it was hormone replacement therapy. And so she was basically saying that when their hormones are really healthy, then they looked a lot younger, and their bodies responded as if they were young. And so, and I knew, sorry, I just kicked I knew that, I had an issue with my hormones, specifically testosterone, and I've been praying to the Lord because I didn't want to have to take any hormone replacement therapy or anything that would, sometimes you add one thing to your body and it messes up some other things. So I was thinking there's got to be a way just to have healthy hormones, right? Because I mean, God is not a sloppy designer. He's not a sloppy creator. There's got to be a way to keep our hormones healthy. And so one day I normally, when I do my makeup in the morning, get ready for the day, I put on a teaching and I listen to, Kevin Zadai or Andrew Womack, something like that. But this day, as I opened YouTube, there was a video caught my eye, and it was talking about hormones and insulin, and so it got my attention. And it was his name is Dr. Pradip Jamnadas. He's from India, and he was just talking about, sorry, I think I got like a cat fur on my nose. Yeah, there it is. He was talking about how in this day and age, everybody's hormones are really messed up. And what the reason is that everybody has their insulin levels too high, and they stay too high. And when your insulin level, and insulin is a hormone, and insulin is the hormone that is released when you eat foods that are, sugary. Insulin is released to put that sugar into your cells and to process them out of your bloodstream. And so, but when your insulin stays high, then it affects your other hormones, and such as your sex hormones. And so if your insulin is high, it can cause your sex hormones to stay low. And so that really opened my eyes, and I just realized that, the way to heal my hormones and help my testosterone to come up is to cut down the amount of sugars and carbs that I ate to keep, my insulin low. And so I started doing, more research about that. And then the Lord also showed me about the Spirit of Gluttony. So as I was doing research about the Spirit of Gluttony, there was one lady that shared a dream, and I will link, her video in the description box, just so you can listen to her testimony as well. But she shares that the Lord gave her a dream, and there was this really, really ugly demon that was so hideous to her, that it was so hideous that I think she said it woke her up from her dream. But it was riding on this horse. And then when she woke up from the dream, the Lord told her, he said, the Spirit of Gluttony rides on a horse named Sugar. And that was just really eye-opening to me. And, I constantly remind myself of that. And I've actually realized that when I am eating sugary foods and carby foods, that I don't feel satisfied. You can eat a lot of them, and if you do eat a lot of them, you don't stay satisfied for very long. You found that just shortly after you eat them, you crave some more. And I've always found I tried to eat when I was hungry and stop when I'm satisfied. But when I'm eating, high sugar, high carb foods, within, like, if you say you have like a small meal of carbs, within 20 minutes, you're hungry again. You need to eat again. And it just keeps going and going and going. And so it's so hard to watch your weight when you're always hungry, you're always craving foods. It was just like, it made so much sense that gluttony rides on the back of sugar, because when you eat stuff that's really satisfying, stuff that has that satiating effect of like fats and proteins and complex carbohydrates, then your body becomes satisfied, and you don't become hungry for a long period of time, and you don't even think about food. But when you just have some carbs and sugars, you get that sugar high, that sugar hit, but then shortly after you get that sugar crash, and you're looking for more food, if that makes sense. So another testimony that I have about this is that I had a day where I just, I ate plenty of food. I had dinner, I ate my regular carbs, whatever. I had probably chocolate. And then I was in the shower, and then I had a thought, which, in the past I would have thought that, oh, it's just my thoughts, because, I have these thoughts all the time. I had a thought, you should go eat some more dinner. And in the past, I would have, thought about it and then be like, all right, I'll eat some more dinner and I'll start the diet tomorrow. But this time I caught it, and I'm like, no, I'm not eating anymore. I've eaten enough. I don't need any more food. And then a follow-up question came. It said, how about some plums? And it said that because I actually at the time had these little baby plums in my fridge, and I would just eat them, instead of trying to eat like chocolate and candy, I would eat some plums, and it was my way of trying to, still get the sugar without it being too unhealthy. So when the voice said, how about some plums? I know that in the past I would have been like, yeah, I'll just get some plums because they're little and they're healthy and there's not many calories. Yeah, I'll just get some plums. But this time I recognized it for what it was. It was the spirit of gluttony talking to me. And I was just like, no, I'm not eating any plums. I said, I'm not eating anything else. And that just really opened my eyes, because I know that, there's been times that I haven't been thinking about food. I've just been working on whatever it is I'm working on, and I'll just get a thought to eat something. I'll just get like this idea that I should go eat something, or I wonder what's in the fridge or something like that. And it's gone unchecked all these years. Like, I never realized that it wasn't my desires, wasn't my thoughts. It wasn't something that originated with me. And so I just took it hook, line, and sinker. I didn't fight back against it, because, if you think it's you, then what are you fighting against? And so it's very important to realize that not every thought that you think originates with you, that there is a spirit world. And just like you can hear the voice of God, there is the enemy out there and his demons, and they do try to entice you to do things that are going to hurt you in the long run, such as overeating and eating the wrong kinds of foods. And I know that if I would have heard this message probably, a year ago or any time before that, I wouldn't have been able to receive it, because I just felt like I had grown up eating carbs, eating sugar, just like everybody else. And it was so normal to me. And I just wanted to eat the foods that I loved. And I couldn't imagine changing everything. Like, it was just, I just couldn't imagine doing that. And I just wasn't prepared to do it. I didn't want to do it. It was just like, I needed to find something that I could still enjoy life, because I thought that I needed to have the carbs and sugar to enjoy life, which was another lie of the enemy. You don't need carbs and sugar to enjoy life. Although it feels like that, because sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So that when we eat sugar, it actually, releases, was it dopamine, serotonin, one of them, maybe both of them. And so it makes us feel happy. And I didn't realize that either, but I knew that when I did a keto diet with my husband, I didn't feel happy. Like, I kind of felt gloomy the whole time. And after a while, I just couldn't stand it anymore. And I wanted to have some sugar. And so I did. And then I felt happy. Well, it was carbs. I had some bread and I felt happy. And I just didn't put two and two together, that it was a hormonal effect that I was wanting. But it really drove it home to me one day when it was my birthday actually this year, and in June. And I woke up one morning and I'd already heard from the Lord, and I'd already cut out sugar and the carbs, and it was my birthday. And I woke up and I had an email from someone where I had this really big bill, and that wasn't good news to wake up to. And so far it wasn't a really good birthday. And I went to my office. I have a flight school now. And so I went to my office to, drop my son off at work and pick up something. And my manager had actually left me a little cake. It was a little strawberries and cream, nothing bundt cake with, icing on the top. And it was really sweet of her. And it looked so good. And I wasn't going to eat it because I wasn't eating any sugar. But then I thought, well, it's my birthday. It's not like I do this every day. I'm just going to go ahead and eat the sugar. And go ahead and eat the cake. So I started eating this cake in the car on the way home. And I just realized after a while, I was like, doing these ones. I was dancing a little bit, and I just started getting really happy. And the only thing that changed in my situation was that I ate the cake. And I just realized that it was the cake, or the sugar, the carbs in the cake, that actually gave me that happiness. And that's when I really realized, because I just didn't realize it before, that it's that's why it's so addictive, is because it gives you this sugar high, this happiness, these good feelings, and it's addictive. So so the Lord really helped me, and I cut out the sugar. And so I did buy, I use xylitol now. I get this organic birch bark xylitol, and I use that in place of sugar and in place of carbs. Like, there is so many people on YouTube now that eat low carb, no sugar, or even keto. So there are so many really great ideas, so many recipes. I made these keto noodles the other day that looked like spaghetti, and they tasted similar, and they had a very similar texture. And so I just can now make my spaghetti bolognese and put it on these keto noodles instead of having pasta. And so there's different things that you can do that you can still eat the foods that you love. You just need to cook it in a different way, use a bit different ingredients, and just tweak it. But so don't feel like, the only thing that you're going to be eating now is, steak and vegetables or something, because there's a lot more options, and there's so many creative people out there to help you to make that change. But, the Bible says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so that's so important, because if you really look at the world and everybody in it, especially here in America, so many people are obese, overweight, morbidly obese, sick. They have diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, all these things, and they're eating just the standard American diet. Whereas back in if you just look back at the 1950s, everybody was slim. They were all slim. And now, if you just look at just regular America, they're not anymore. It's a big difference. And so you need to think, well, what happened? And actually, what happened was that one of the presidents, I forgot what his name is. One of the presidents had a heart attack, and then all of America got afraid because he was, he seemed healthy, and all of a sudden he had a heart attack. And so America was like, well, what's stopping us from not getting a heart attack? And so they had a lot of research done, and Ansel Keys wrongly deduced that it was because of fat, that fat was the problem and fat caused the heart disease. And then there was another person that actually found out that it was sugar, that sugar was the problem. But his research was pushed down, and Ansel Keys, because of the way that he was, his stuff was received by the American public, and they made that food pyramid with all those carbs on the bottom, and they cut out fat out of everybody's diet. And it was at that point that everybody's weight shot up, because when you're not eating fat and all you're having is carbs and sugar, then your insulin is going to go so high, and you're going to be way more hungry, that it's just a recipe for disaster. And we can see it when we just, go outside, go to Walmart, you can see how much of a disaster it was, and it is. And so we have to renew our mind to the truth of what's really true, that, God wants us to be eating the whole foods, and he wants us to, and sugar, another thing, as I was thinking, well, sugar is so normal, like it's normal, but sugar is a product, and it wasn't, like Jesus never ate sugar. He ate honey, but he never ate sugar, because it wasn't around back then. It came from, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, from the sugar cane, and then they crystallized it, and then, now it's all over the world, and in 80% of all the foods in the supermarket. And you just got to, and the reason why it's in there is because it's addictive, because it makes everything taste better. I had hot dogs with the kids the other day, and I got the really good hot dogs, and I bought keto buns, and I bought dill relish, and I bought some ketchup without sugar, unsweetened ketchup, and we made ourselves a hot dog, and I realized it doesn't taste nearly as good as the one with sugar. It just doesn't taste as good, that hot dog. So I was thinking of ways to make that hot dog taste better, but now I know why they put sugar in everything, because it just tastes so much better, especially if you're used to it and you eaten a lot of sugar, then you have a taste for it and you just want more sugar. And I didn't realize that you can actually wean yourself off sugar, or that you actually can desensitize yourself to sugar. And I actually found that out. My sister came and visit me in Louisiana when I lived there years ago, and it was a very sad day for me. I just miscarried my second baby that I miscarried, and I was really, really upset. And my sister offered to make me a tea, because I drank a lot of tea back then, hot tea. And so she asked me, how many sugars do you put in it? And I said, I think I had like 2.5 heaped teaspoons, like heaped teaspoons. And she was like, yuck, Donna, you have that much sugar in your tea? And I'm like, well, that's what tastes good. And so she told me, she goes, you need to wean yourself off sugar. And I that was just like, what do you mean wean myself off sugar? Like, it's as sweet as it's sweet. And she actually showed me that the more sugar you consume, the more that you need for something to taste as sweet. And it was so eye-opening for me. And so she actually told me just to, cut it down to, like, I had 2 really, really flat teaspoons of sugar, and it didn't taste nice to me. It was actually really gross, but she said if I just keep drinking it, I'll get used to it. And so I did that for a while. And then shortly after that, I fell pregnant with my third born child, and I went off tea completely, because for some reason, every time I get pregnant, tea and coffee doesn't taste good anymore, and some other things don't as well. And so I wasn't drinking tea, but then I thought, maybe if I drink it the way that I used to drink it, I'll be able to drink it. And so I made it with those 2 heaped, 2.5, I don't know, I had a ton of sugar in my tea. So I made it, and I took 1 sip of it, and it was so disgusting. It tasted like I was drinking straight syrup. I couldn't drink it. I took 1 more sip just to see if I could get it down, and I couldn't believe how sweet it was. Because now that I had, cut that sugar way down, as a matter of fact, I had stopped because I just couldn't drink tea anymore. I realized that, wow, I had actually got myself to the point where I needed so much sugar for it to taste as sweet as it used to. And so I used to buy this from Starbucks. I used to get this white chocolate mocha, because it was just sweet enough and I didn't have to add any more sugar. And then after, when this happened, I went and I bought it again, that white chocolate mocha, and it was so disgusting. It just tasted like I just put 12 teaspoons of sugar in a latte and stirred it up, and it was just so sweet. And so, but now that we've been having cut out the sugar, like when I eat an apple just, it didn't really appeal to me much before, but now an apple is it's like candy. When they used to say fruit is like candy, like nature's candy, I was just like, yeah, I guess so. But now that I've cut out the sugar, fruit tastes like candy. It's amazing how that happens. And so something that I have noticed since I have cut out the sugar and cut out the carbs, I'm not obsessing about food anymore. I'm not thinking about food all the time anymore. I'm not craving anymore. It's just, I went from, God had to actually tell me, he actually had to say, Dana, food is not your God, because of how much I was thinking about it and obsessing about it, just because I was trying to get it under control and I just couldn't. But I craved it. And God actually had to say, Dana, food is not your God. And that was like a wake-up call. And I had to repent. And now I finally got to a point where food used to be way more than just food. Whereas now, food is just food. It still tastes good. Like the foods that I make, it still tastes good, but it doesn't, as the youngins say, it hits different now. It's just food. It's just food. And I never thought that I would say that. And it's just so amazing that, the Lord showed me what the key was that I was missing this whole time. It was the sugar and the highly refined carbs that was causing me to act like a junkie, like a food addict, a sugar addict, where I just couldn't get enough. And I just thought about it all the time. And, as I was eating, I was starting to get sad, because I knew that I was almost done and I didn't want to be done. And then I'd start thinking about the next meal. And I know that a lot of you watching this video feel the same way, have thought the same things. And just know that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just a byproduct of the food that we're eating. What we think is normal is messing us all up, messing up our weight. You know, I don't know if I'm going to do this the right way, but you know, so say my weight was here and I'd go on a diet and I'd lose weight and then I couldn't deprive myself anymore and my weight would shoot up. And so it started here, but now it was higher. So then I would do it again and I would lose weight and then I couldn't stand it anymore. And then my weight would shoot up even higher. And then I lost weight again and then I couldn't deprive myself anymore. And then it shot up even higher. And I can show you on my app, it just went down, up, down, up, down, up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is madness. Like, this is like the opposite of help, is trying to be on these diets. Whereas now I've just changed my whole lifestyle and I just feel just amazing. Like my testosterone level has come up, that all the issues that I was, you know, experiencing with low testosterone, they're all gone. I used to have night sweats, you know, around my time of my cycle. I used to just sweat really badly at night. And now that I cut out the highly refined carbs and the sugar, I don't do that anymore. It's just, and I never even would have thought that it was to do with my diet and just things like that. I even had a friend, she gave me a testimony of her own, that she's always eaten really healthy and her testosterone was always really high, a lot higher than a lot of other women. So she had, you know, a higher sex drive than a lot of other women. But then she started getting busy with work and she started just getting, you know, takeout and just eating really unhealthy. And she said she felt lethargic and she just started, you know, things in her body just weren't working as right. And then she says she got to a point where she had no sex drive, that she didn't even want to kiss her husband. And when she realized what was happening, she went back to eating those healthy, whole, you know, home cooked meals. And then all of a sudden, like, everything healed. Her testosterone went back to normal. Her sex drive went back to normal. And so you can actually, you know, can see that when you keep that insulin down by just eating, you know, the fresh vegetables and the proteins and, you know, the complex carbohydrates, you keep your insulin level really low. And so all the other hormones in your body have a chance to be at those healthy levels. You know, I mean, I watched a lady from Australia. They were showing her in a bikini and she was in her 70s and she looked amazing. And people were asking, like, what's your secret? And she said she used to be a sugar addict, but then she almost got diabetes. And so she cut out all the sugar. And so she's just been eating, like, when if she made herself something sweet, it would just be with like xylitol and things like that. And so not only did it keep her really thin, but it also kept her looking young. And so, you know, all these things that, you know, the Lord showed me here, there, and everywhere just all came together, and He gave me the grace. And right now is the best time to change to, you know, low carb, because there are so many resources out there. There's like literally keto, and keto refers to being in ketosis, like instead of being fueled by glucose, which is when you eat the carbs and sugar, you get fueled by your fat cells, and it's called ketosis, and that's why they call it keto. So you can either be fueled by the glucose and have your insulin really high, or have your insulin low and be fueled by your fat cells. Because if your insulin is high, then your insulin slams the door to your body being able to pull from your fat stores. So as long as there's insulin floating around in your bloodstream, your body will use that as fuel, and it will never ever tap into your fat cells. And so it's just, if you want to get your weight down, you need to get rid of that insulin so your body starts pulling from that fat and using that as fuel. And another lie that they say is that a calorie is a calorie, and that was a lie, because they want to sell their products, the big business. They want to sell their products, and they don't want you to stop eating their food. And so they say, oh, it's just calories a calorie, calorie in, calories out. And, you know, the way you lose weight is you bring your calories down. Well, I've done that so many times, and I have found that every time I've tried, I get too deprived, and then I need to eat way more. And then my body, for giving it issues of trying to lose weight, it put on even more weight. And, you know, I'm going to post some videos in the description box I saved it to my YouTube as life-changing info, because these are the things that I watched that really just drove it all home for me and just opened my eyes to everything. And there was this one guy, he's an Australian guy, and I really enjoyed watching his stuff, but he used to eat like, say, 2,300 calories, no sugar, no carbs, or no refined carbs. And then he went to the same 2,300 calories of just, the regular sugary foods, the same amount of calories, but when he ate this way with the sugar, within 2 months he'd put on 6 kilos. And so that would be like, I think it was like 13 pounds in 2 months, eating the same amount of calories. They were just a different type of food. So a calorie is not a calorie, because when you eat, say, a spoonful of sugar, your body releases insulin. But if you eat a spoonful of oil, it's fat, and insulin doesn't get spiked at all. Like when you eat fat, it has no insulin response. And so it's actually really healthy. Saturated fats are healthy, but they tell you that they're not. And to eat the, sunflower oils and canola oils and things like that. But actually it's the saturated fat that is healthy. And I'm going to post a documentary about that as well, if this is just blowing your mind and you're thinking, yeah, there's no way fat is healthy. But it really, really is, and your body needs. So I hope that all this information really helped you, that this has been an answer to your prayers that you've been praying to the Lord. I really believe that it is, and the Lord's going to give you the grace to make the changes. He's with you the whole time. He's going to lead you to the right information. He's going to lead you to the right YouTubers that are going to, make those recipes that are really going to appeal to you, because I don't feel deprived at all anymore. I don't feel deprived. I eat really good food, but it's not my God anymore. I just enjoy it, and then when I'm done eating, that's it. I think about the things of the Lord. I think about other things. I'm not thinking about food all the time. I'm feeding my kids really well. My daughter, she's 17, and she was started to eat a lot of carbs, and her weight was ballooning up, and so she started eating the same way that I am, and now I just see her just getting smaller and smaller. And she used to crave chocolate all the time, and now she doesn't even think about it. She doesn't crave anymore, and neither do I don't crave anymore. It's so wonderful. And so I really hope that this blessed you. If it did, please click the like button and share it with somebody that you believe that it would help as well. And I appreciate you guys. Until next time, bye.